Hello, welcome to the channel Why Stories. Enjoy watching.
My mother-in-law was celebrating her birthday at the summer house when my husband gave her the keys to the car I had won in a lottery. At first, I was stunned, and then she didn't immediately understand why I burst out laughing when she sat behind the wheel. Sunlight filtered through the thin curtains, illuminating the modest furnishings of the one-bedroom apartment that Maria and Andres had been renting for a year and a half. Maria carefully slipped out of the creaky sofa, trying not to wake her husband. Andres worked as a loader at a construction supply store and had come home late the night before, reeking of cement and exhaustion. In the small kitchen, Maria put the kettle on the only working burner of their stove. The second burner had burned out a month ago, and they couldn't afford to repair it. She pulled out a pack of cheap tea and grimaced at the smell of scorched milk. Their fridge was on the fritz, and food spoiled faster than it should. "Your kettle sounds like a damn train again," Andres grumbled sleepily as he appeared in the kitchen doorway. His brown hair was tousled, and a pillow mark still lingered on his cheek. "Sorry, I thought you were still asleep," Maria said, leaning in to kiss him, but he just nodded vaguely and sat at the table. "What's the plan for today?" she asked, slicing bread for sandwiches. "Shift till 8. Then probably beer with the guys." "Why?" "Just asking," Maria shrugged, trying to hide her disappointment. It was the third Friday in a row Andres had chosen his friends over spending the evening with her. They ate breakfast in silence. Maria was scrolling through her phone when she saw a lottery ad. The grand prize was a brand new Kia Rio. "Hey, what if I buy a ticket?" she suddenly suggested. "Look at that car. Can you imagine how amazing it would be to have our own?" Andres scoffed, glancing at the screen. "Come on, Mari. Who even wins those things? You'll just be wasting money. It's only €3. That's not a big deal." "Whatever," Andres shrugged indifferently. "Just don't complain later that we're short on groceries." Maria said nothing. Her salary as a nurse wasn't much, but she always managed to set aside a little for herself. Besides, dreaming never hurt anyone. After work, she stopped at a kiosk and bought a lottery ticket, smiling faintly at her own naivety. The saleswoman, a red-haired woman with dyed curls, winked at her. "Good luck, sweetheart. Who knows, maybe you'll win." Back home, Maria tucked the ticket into her wallet and nearly forgot about it until the following Wednesday, the day of the draw. That evening, she was cooking dinner when her phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello?" Maria Garcia, a cheerful male voice asked. "I'm calling from Lucky Chance Promotions." "Congratulations. You've won the grand prize in our lottery, a Kia Rio." She laughed. "Very funny. Who is this?" "This is not a joke," the voice insisted. "You have ticket series AK number 452081. Maria flinched and rushed to her bag. With trembling fingers, she pulled out the ticket. "Yes, that's my number." "Congratulations. You're the winner. We need to meet with you to handle the paperwork. The car is waiting for its owner." Maria sank into a chair, unable to believe her luck. When Andres came home from work, she threw her arms around him. "We won a car. Can you believe it? A car." Andres studied the ticket skeptically, then checked the winning numbers online. "Holy crap," he finally smiled. "You actually won?" He picked her up and spun her around the room. A real foreign car. That evening, for the first time in a long while, they truly felt happy. They made plans, dreamed about weekend trips outside the city, and how convenient it would be to shop without dragging heavy bags. "But only you have a driver's license," Andres remembered. "So we'll have to register the car under your name." "So what?" "It's our family car," Maria replied lightheartedly. "You can always get your license." "Of course," he said, but something flickered in his eyes, either doubt or discontent. On Friday, Maria took the day off to take care of the paperwork. The lottery representative, a cheerful man in a suit, guided her through all the bureaucratic steps. By evening, everything was ready, The car was officially hers. Maria could hardly believe her luck when she sat behind the wheel of the brand new silver Kia Rio. The interior smelled of fresh leather and plastic. She ran her hand over the smooth dashboard and gently pressed the gas pedal. The car glided forward smoothly. When she pulled up to their building, neighbors gathered outside to admire the new car. Andres was waiting at the entrance with a bouquet of wildflowers. "So, how's the driver doing?" he smiled, opening the door. Maria hopped out of the car, beaming with pride. "It's fantastic. She's so responsive, drives so smoothly." On Saturday morning, the phone rang. It was her mother-in-law, Dolores. "Andres," came her mother-in-law's signature raspy voice through the phone. "You didn't forget my birthday tomorrow, did you?" 60 years, it's a big deal." "Of course not, Mom, we remember," Andres replied, switching to speakerphone. "Maria and I already bought you a gift." "Is it true you want a car?" Dolores asked abruptly. "Carmen called me. Said she saw your wife in a brand new foreign car." Maria tensed up. Her relationship with her mother-in-law had always been strained. Dolores believed her son could have married someone better than a nurse from a regular family. She never missed a chance to hint that Maria wasn't good enough for her precious Andres. "Yes, Mom, can you believe it? Maria won the lottery," Andres said proudly. "Now we have a car." "Well, isn't that something?" Dolores replied. There wasn't a trace of joy in her voice. "So? Is it a good car?" "It's great. A Kia Rio, brand new." "Well then, you'll bring it to the party." "I've already told everyone my son now has a foreign car," Dolores declared. After the call, Maria commented, "Funny how your mom said my son has a car. The car's registered in my name." "Oh, you know how my mom is," Andres waved it off. "To her, anything I have is thanks to her, and anything you have is automatically ours." Maria wanted to argue, but kept quiet. She didn't want to ruin the joy of the new car. Sunday morning was sunny. Maria put on a new dress she'd bought especially for Dolores' birthday. Andres fussed nervously with his neckties. "I don't get why you need a tie for a summer house," Maria remarked. "Mom likes it when I look respectable," he muttered. "Her friends from the municipal office will be there. I want her to be proud." Dolores' dacha was in a suburban garden community, an old but tidy two-story house with a porch and a well-kept garden. When Maria parked the Kia Rio near the gate, curious neighbors immediately peeked over the fence. "Look at that, they came by car," said a plump woman in a floral robe. "And not just any car, a foreign one," added a gray-haired man holding a newspaper. Dolores greeted them from the porch. Petite, with her dyed red hair pulled into a tight bun, she wore a new cornflower blue suit that made her look like a Soviet-era schoolteacher. "Andres," she exclaimed, throwing her arms open to her son and completely ignoring her daughter-in-law. "I'm so glad you came." Only after hugging her son did she finally turn to Maria. "Hello, Maria. Come on in, the guests are already arriving." The house was crowded with people, Dolores' colleagues from the municipal office where she had worked for 30 years, neighbors from the summer community, and a handful of distant relatives. Maria spotted her own parents sitting in a corner of the room, smiling tensely. The relationship between the two families had been rocky from the very beginning. "Mom, Dad," Maria said with surprise and delight as she approached them. "I didn't know you were coming too." "Dolores called last night," her mother whispered. "Said it would be strange not to invite the bride's parents to such an important celebration." The table was overflowing with food: aspic, Olivier salad, herring under a fur coat, jellied fish. Dolores had clearly gone all out to impress. At the center of the table stood a 3-tiered cake adorned with 60 candles. Dolores barked orders, bossed around the guests, and dictated who sat where. She seated Maria and Andres beside her, as if to assert control over her son. The feast began with toasts. Every guest seemed obligated to stand up and deliver one, along with their gift. Dolores accepted each with regal poise, as if this weren't a modest summer house but a grand reception in a palace. Through the window, Maria could see her shiny new car gleaming in the sun between the currant bushes. A few neighbors deliberately strolled past, slowing down to take a good look at the vehicle. She couldn't help but smile. For the first time in her life, she had something to be proud of. "What are you smiling about?" Andres whispered. "Just happy about our car," she replied. "Can you imagine all the things we can do now? Weekend trips, traveling." "Yeah," Andres replied vaguely. "Hey, I wanted to talk to you about something." But he didn't get the chance. Dolores tapped her glass with a fork, calling for attention. "My friends, it's time to blow out the candles on my birthday cake." The guests crowded around the table, and Maria thought to herself that this was just the beginning of the celebration, with the whole day still ahead. She had no idea how dramatically everything would change before the day was over. The cake was brought out to the veranda. Inside the house, the air had grown stuffy from the crowd. 60 candles created a small bonfire, the flames flickering in the gentle summer breeze. Dolores stood at the center of attention, adjusting her hair and soaking in the compliments. "My goodness, Dolores, you don't look your age at all," gushed a plump woman in a bright floral dress, a colleague from the municipal office. "You just get better with time," added another, wearing oversized beads around her wrinkled neck. Maria watched the scene discreetly. Her mother-in-law really did look younger than her age, but the steely gaze and tight-lipped smile betrayed her true nature. In a year and a half of marriage, Maria had never managed to find common ground with her husband's mother. Dolores had always kept her distance, and at times allowed herself biting remarks, especially when Andres wasn't around to hear them. "Blow them out already, Dolores," someone from the crowd shouted. "The wax is dripping onto the cake." Everyone clapped and began singing "Happy Birthday." Dolores took a deep breath and, with visible effort, blew out all the candles. The guests erupted into applause, someone even let out a whistle. "Did you make a wish?" Andres asked, wrapping an arm around his mother's shoulders. "Of course, my son," Dolores smiled, shooting a quick glance in Maria's direction. "And it's definitely going to come true." Maria felt a chill down her spine. There was something predatory in that look. After the cake was cut, another wave of congratulations followed. The Summerhouse neighbors gifted a barbecue set, colleagues gave expensive cosmetics, relatives handed over an envelope of cash, and Maria's parents presented a delicate porcelain vase. "Very original," Dolores said dryly, barely glancing at the gift. Maria's mother, Carmen, pressed her lips together but stayed silent. Her father, Rafael, discreetly squeezed his wife's hand, urging her to stay calm. Finally, it was Andres's turn. He stood up with a champagne glass in hand, and the room fell silent. "Dear Mom," he began solemnly, "today we celebrate your milestone birthday. 60 years, a whole life filled with work, care, and motherly love." Maria noticed him falter slightly on those last words. Odd, he hadn't stumbled during their rehearsal the night before. "You've always supported me," Andres went on, avoiding his wife's gaze, "helped me in everything. Thanks to you, I became the man I am today. And today, I want to give you a special gift." Maria's mouth suddenly went dry. They had bought his mother a pair of gold earrings, expensive, but manageable within their budget. What special gift was he talking about? "Remember how you always dreamed of having your own car?" Andres continued, his voice growing more confident. "So you wouldn't have to walk to the bus stop or squeeze into crowded buses?" Dolores let out a performative sigh. "Oh, my dear, how could I dream of such a thing? That kind of money." "Well, you don't have to dream anymore," Andres declared triumphantly. "Today, your dream comes true." He turned to Maria, who sat frozen, unable to comprehend what was happening. Andres leaned down and pulled from her handbag, a small purse that rested by her feet, a set of keys to the brand new Kia Rio. "Mom, this is for you," he said, handing Dolores the keys. "Your very own car." The room fell silent. Dolores gasped, clutching her hands to her chest. Her eyes filled with tears, far too quickly to be genuine. Maria couldn't move. It felt like she had slipped into a bizarre dream. Had her husband really just given her car to his mother? "Andres," she finally managed to say, "what are you doing?" "Giving my mom a car," he replied, without looking at her. "You want it for free anyway. And mom spent her whole life bouncing around on buses." "But we never talked about this," Maria said, feeling a lump rise in her throat. "The car is registered in my name. I want it." "You're my wife," Andres said sharply. "We share everything, and I've decided to use our property this way." Dolores was already holding the keys, gently stroking the Kia logo on the fob. "What a wonderful son I have," she cooed, wiping away invisible tears. Always thinking of his mother. She looked at Maria with undisguised triumph, as if to say, "See? He'll always choose me over you." The guests, who had been stunned into silence, began to murmur in approval. "Now that's a son," one neighbor gushed. "A gift like that. You can tell he was raised right," one of Dolores's colleagues nodded. "With a son like that, old age doesn't look so scary," added a distant relative. Maria felt her face burn with shame. She caught her father's gaze. He was staring at Andres with barely concealed outrage. Her mother had turned pale and was clenching a napkin tightly in her hand. "We'll re-register the car in your name first thing tomorrow, Mom," Andres continued, ignoring the tense silence from his wife. "Maria will go to the transport office and handle it all." "What?" Maria finally found her voice. "I'm not going anywhere. That's my car, Andres. I'm not agreeing to give it away." "Don't make a scene," Andres hissed, leaning toward her. "We'll talk about it later." "No," Maria said firmly, rising from the table. "We'll talk now. Outside." She walked toward the door, aware that all eyes were following her. Andres followed reluctantly. In the yard, next to the very car that had become the center of the conflict, Maria turned to face him. "Are you insane? How could you give away my car without even asking me?" "Oh, come on," Andres waved his hand impatiently. "It's a family car. That means I have a right to it too. And Mom deserves a gift." "Deserves it?" Maria felt the anger boiling inside her. "For what, exactly? For constantly belittling me? For treating you like you're still her property? Don't you dare talk about my mother like that." Andres snapped, his eyes flashing with anger. "She sacrificed everything for me. And you? What have you ever done for me?" "I'm your wife, Andres," Maria said, feeling her lips tremble. "I thought we were a family. I dreamed of us driving this car together, visiting my parents, going on trips to the countryside. Mom is family too," Andres insisted stubbornly. "And she's alone. You have me. Have you?" Maria let out a bitter laugh. "I have nothing, Andres. Not even a real husband, because you still belong to your mother." Their argument was interrupted as Dolores stepped onto the porch. "Andres, the guests are asking where you are," she called sweetly. "And I'd love to try out my new driver's seat," she added, giving a theatrical wave with the car keys. "Coming, Mom," Andres replied and, casting a warning glance at Maria, headed back toward the house. Maria remained by the car. Her car, which they were now trying to take away. She ran her hand across the smooth hood. Just 2 days ago, she had been so happy, making plans. And now, everything was falling apart. Loud voices echoed from the house. Dolores was announcing to everyone that she wanted to take her birthday present for a spin. Guests poured out onto the porch, watching as she made her grand, regal approach to the car. "Shall we take a little ride, ladies?" she cooed to her friends. "I have to test my new vehicle, after all." Maria stepped aside, unable to watch the spectacle. Her parents approached her. "Sweetheart, what's going on?" her mother asked quietly. "Why did your husband give your car to his mother?" "I don't understand it myself, Mom," Maria replied, barely holding back tears. He didn't even ask me. He just took it and gave it away. Her father watched grimly as Dolores settled into the driver's seat of the Kia Rio, surrounded by gleeful guests. "This isn't right," he said at last. "Your husband had no right to do that." Suddenly, Dolores's shrill voice came from inside the car. "Oh dear, I can't remember how this model starts. Andres, come help mommy." Andres rushed to the car without hesitation, leaning through the window to explain. "You're not going to let this slide, are you?" her father asked Maria. "No," she replied firmly. "This is my car. I'm not giving it up." At that moment, the engine roared to life, and Dolores let out a victorious squeal. Sitting behind the wheel, she waved to the crowd like a queen in a parade. "I'm an auto lady now," she declared. "Thanks to my caring son." Maria noticed her father tense up. His face flushed with restrained anger. "Raphael, don't," her mother warned, but it was too late. Maria's father strode firmly toward the car, where Dolores was still basking in praise. The guests parted before him, sensing the rising tension. "Excuse me, Dolores," he said loudly, and the crowd fell silent. "But I must have misunderstood something. Did Andres just gift you a car that my daughter won?" An awkward pause followed. Dolores pursed her lips before forcing a strained smile. "Raphael, this is a family matter. Andres has every right to make decisions about his family's property." "And is my daughter in agreement with this decision?" he pressed. All eyes turned to Maria. She felt a lump rise in her throat, but managed to speak loud enough. "No, I don't agree. The car is registered to me, and I have no intention of transferring ownership." Dolores stepped out of the car, her face contorted with anger. "So you want to leave your mother-in-law without a birthday gift? How ungrateful. After everything I've done for you." "And what exactly have you done for us, Dolores?" Maria snapped. "Name just one thing." Andres stepped between them. "Maria, stop. You're embarrassing me in front of everyone." "Me?" Maria exclaimed. "You humiliated me when you gave away my car without even asking me." Maria's mother joined them. "Andres, what you did was outrageous. How can you treat your wife like that?" Dolores instantly flared up. "You stay out of our family matters. My son has every right to make decisions about the family's property." "The car isn't his," Maria's father repeated firmly. "It belongs to my daughter." "Nonsense!" Dolores snapped. "She's married, so everything is shared, and in a family, the man makes the decisions." "Since when?" Maria's mother interjected. "We're not living in the Middle Ages. And anyway, she won that car. Andres didn't even know about the lottery." "Easy come, easy go," Andres cut in coldly, repeating a phrase that clearly came from his mother. "Maria didn't pay a cent for it." "And did your mother pay anything?" Maria's father shot back, his anger finally breaking through. The tension in the air was growing by the second. The guests shifted uncomfortably, unsure how to react to the unfolding family scandal. Some began quietly stepping away, pretending to be interested in the garden flowers or commenting on the weather. Realizing she was losing her audience's sympathy, Dolores decided to play the pity card. "So you want to deprive an old woman of the only joy in her life," she cried. "To make me keep walking through the snow to the bus stop? To carry heavy grocery bags all alone?" "Don't worry, Mom," Andres reassured her. "The car will be yours. Maria will go handle the paperwork tomorrow." "No, I won't," Maria said flatly. "The car is mine, and I'm not giving it up." "Then I'll take care of it myself," Andres snapped. "As your husband, I have the right to act on your behalf." "No, you don't," Maria's father cut in. "You need a power of attorney for that, and Maria won't give you one." "So that's it," Dolores gasped dramatically. "Now you're taking your parents' side instead of your husband's? Is that how you understand marriage?" "I'm taking the side of what's right," Maria said quietly but firmly. "And I'm sorry my husband doesn't see it that way. How dare you, Dolores shrieked. Andres, are you hearing how she's speaking to me? Are you really going to let her talk to your mother like that? Andres shot his wife a dark glare. Maria, stop it. You're ruining Mom's birthday. No, you ruined it, Maria's mother interjected. You staged this circus of a gift without even discussing it with your wife. Stay out of it, Dolores snapped, finally losing her composure. Who even are you people? You come to my birthday and try to tell us how to live? We're your daughter-in-law's parents, Maria's father replied calmly, and we care about how she's treated. And I care about how my son is treated, Dolores retorted. He married a girl with no dowry, no apartment, and now she dares to set conditions? Maria felt something inside her snap. She had always known Dolores didn't like her, but she hadn't realized how deep the contempt ran. If I had known what a greedy old woman you really are, Maria said quietly, I never would have married your son. A heavy silence fell over the yard. Dolores turned crimson, then spat out the words that would erase any chance of reconciliation. And if I had known my son would marry such an ungrateful upstart, I would have done everything to stop that wedding. Now it was Maria's father who flushed red with rage. You selfish, bitter old witch. What you want isn't a daughter-in-law, it's a slave for your son. Dad, Maria exclaimed, but it was too late. How dare you? Dolores screeched. Andres, did you hear how he just insulted me? This is outrageous. Andres stepped firmly beside his mother. Rafael, I'm asking you not to insult my mother, especially at her birthday. And I'm asking you not to insult my daughter, Maria's father shot back. Or do you honestly think taking her car without her consent is acceptable? The tension was at a boiling point. Guests began whispering nervously among themselves, some already openly watching the scene like a theater performance. Maria's mother tried to defuse the situation. Maybe we should all just calm down and... But Dolores cut her off. Exactly. Calm down and stay out of our family business. Andres knows what's best. Mom's right, Andres chimed in. The car will be hers. That's my decision as head of the family. Head of the family? Maria's mother snapped. You're no head, you can't even talk things over with your own wife. You're a spineless little man. What? Andres bristled. How dare you? Don't you talk to my son that way. Dolores yelled, grabbing a glass of cherry compote from the table and throwing it straight into Carmen's face. Carmen gasped as the red juice dripped down her white blouse. Without hesitation, she grabbed the nearest bowl of salad and dumped it over Dolores's head. Mayonnaise and chopped vegetables slid down the birthday woman's face. For a second, she froze in shock, then let out a feral screech and lunged at Carmen. All hell broke loose. Maria's father tried to pull Dolores off his wife, but caught an elbow to the stomach from Andres. Without thinking, he retaliated with a punch to his son-in-law's face. Andres staggered back, blood pouring from his nose. He lunged forward, but slipped on the spilled salad and crashed into the table. Dishes flew to the ground with a clatter, and the birthday cake landed with a splat on the grass. Guests scattered in panic. Some tried to break up the fight, others filmed the chaos on their phones. Women screamed, men shouted threats. Maria stood off to the side, stunned. Her parents and mother-in-law were rolling on the ground among broken dishes and food scraps, while her bloodied husband tried to defend his mother and fend off more punches from her father. The whole celebration had devolved into madness. The birthday was beyond ruined, but no one cared anymore. Accusations, threats, and curses filled the air. Maria watched the insanity in silence, and a decision began to harden inside her. Slowly, she walked over to the bench where her purse lay. She pulled out her phone and wallet. Then, without saying a word, she headed toward the gate. Maria, where are you going? Andres shouted, catching sight of her movement. She turned around. Her husband stood there with a bloody nose, his shirt stained with mayonnaise, next to his mother, who was breathing heavily and still clutching a plate in her hand. I'm leaving, Maria said calmly. I've had enough. And the keys? Andres demanded. Give me the car keys. Maria let out a bitter smile. You already gave them to your mother. Congratulations on your purchase, Dolores. Then, without another word, she turned and walked out through the gate. Her parents saw her and hurried to follow, leaving behind the battlefield and their stunned opponents. Out on the street, Maria finally let the tears flow. Her father wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Let's go home, sweetheart. There's nothing left for us here. They made their way to her father's old seat, parked a little ways down the road. Behind them, footsteps rang out. Andres was running after them. Maria! Come back here. Now! But she didn't turn around. She climbed into the back seat of her parents' car and shut the door. Her father started the engine. The last thing Maria saw as they drove away was Andres standing by the gate with the car keys in his hand, and Dolores behind him, her face still smeared, wearing a triumphant smile. The road from the summer house to the city had never felt so long. Maria sat in the back seat of the seat, staring out the window at the trees rushing past. The evening sun bathed their crowns in golden light, but she didn't see it. All she could picture was Andres handing her car keys to his mother. Maria, how are you holding up? Her mother asked gently, turning around in the front seat. I don't know, Maria replied honestly. I still can't believe this really happened. Your husband is the ultimate mama's boy, her father grumbled, gripping the steering wheel tightly. His right cheek was flushed from the punch he'd taken during the scuffle. I'm sorry, sweetheart, but it's the truth. Rafael, don't start, Carmen scolded. Maria's going through enough already. Maria closed her eyes. The past hour replayed in her head like a horror movie. Every word, every look, every action now seemed to carry new weight. How had she not seen before how toxic Andres' relationship with his mother was? I could have understood it, she said aloud, if he had talked to me. If he'd asked, Maria, should we give the car to my mom? We could have discussed it. But he just took it. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, her father muttered. I've seen guys like that, mama's boys through and through. As long as mommy's alive, the wife will always be second. Remember I told you how weird it was that he always ran to her for everything? Carmen shook her head. He has dinner at her place twice a week, no matter what. And he shows her his paychecks. And I thought it was just him caring for his elderly mother, Maria said bitterly. Turns out. She didn't finish. Her phone buzzed inside her purse. Andres, his 10th call in the last 20 minutes. I'm not answering, she said firmly, switching it to silent. Good, her father agreed. Let him stew a little. Rafa, don't be like that, his wife chided him. People need to talk things through. Talk about what? Rafael snapped. He humiliated our daughter in front of everyone, took her car, and handed it to his mother. What is there to discuss? The phone buzzed again. A message. Maria hesitated, then opened it. Maria, come back immediately. You embarrassed me in front of all our guests. Mom is crying. You need to apologize. She showed the message to her parents. Can you believe this? Her father fumed. Now you're the one at fault? Maybe he just doesn't realize what he did, her mother suggested uncertainly. He knows exactly what he did, Maria shook her head. He's just used to getting away with it. Used to me giving in. She began typing a reply. I'm not coming back. You betrayed me, Andres. You took my car and gave it to your mother without even asking. This is the end. After hitting send, she felt an odd sense of relief, like a heavy weight had been lifted from her shoulders. Can I stay with you for a few days? Maria asked her parents. I need time to figure out what to do next. Of course, sweetheart, her mother replied instantly. Your room is always open to you. Thank you. Maria gave a small, strained smile. Her phone buzzed again. Another message, this time a long one. Maria, you don't understand. The car is family property anyway. What difference does it make who drives it? Mom is old. It's hard for her to take the bus. You're young. You can walk. I promise I'll drive you wherever you need to go. Stop sulking and come back. Mom already told everyone about the car. It'll be embarrassing if you ruin everything. Maria showed the message to her parents. Old, her father scoffed. She's 5 years younger than me and stronger than most 30-year-olds. I've seen her digging up the garden and carrying sacks of potatoes. And she's lying about the buses. The stop is right outside her house. That's not the point, Maria said, shaking her head. The point is, he doesn't even realize he did anything wrong. To him, it's completely normal to make decisions about my things like they're his. You know, sweetheart, her father said seriously, watching her through the rearview mirror, if I were you, I'd really think hard about whether you want to keep living with someone like that. Raphael, her mother exclaimed. Don't say things you'll regret. Why not? He pressed on stubbornly. Today it's the car. What's next? The apartment, when they buy one. Or maybe Maria's paycheck will go straight to Mommy too. Maria remained silent. Her father was right. It wasn't about the car, it was about the principle. How easily Andres had dismissed her feelings and decisions. The phone rang again. This time, the caller ID showed Dolores. Maria raised her eyebrows in surprise. Her mother-in-law never called her directly. Don't pick up, her father advised. No, I want to hear what she has to say, Maria said firmly, and answered the call. Hello, she said coldly. Maria, sweetheart, Dolores cooed, her voice sickeningly sweet. What a silly misunderstanding this all was. You've just misunderstood everything, dear. What exactly have I misunderstood, Dolores? Maria asked in an icy tone. Well, of course. Dolores exclaimed dramatically. Andres didn't mean to upset you. He just wanted to do something nice for me. The car is still in the family. You can use it whenever you like. With your permission? Maria clarified. Oh, come now, Dolores shifted to a more tender tone. We're one family, everything is shared. I would have let you borrow it if you had just asked politely. Maria's knuckles turned white as she gripped the phone. Dolores, she said, choosing her words carefully, the car is mine. I won it in a lottery, it's registered in my name, and I never agreed to give it away. But you're married to my son, Dolores objected, her voice now edged with steel. Which means everything you own is shared, and Andres, as the man of the house, has the right to make decisions. No, he doesn't, Maria said firmly. Legally, even if something is considered jointly owned, one spouse can't dispose of it without the other's consent. What nonsense, Dolores snapped. What laws? We're a family. Andres is the head of the household, and he decided to gift the car to his mother. Without his wife's agreement, Maria reminded her. And that's not a gift, that's theft. How dare you? Dolores shrieked. Andres is not a thief. He's a loving son who thinks of his mother. And you're just a selfish little brat who doesn't want to share. Maria took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. Let's be honest, Dolores. You never approved of our marriage. You always thought I wasn't good enough for your son. And now, you saw an opportunity to put me in my place, and you took it. That's nonsense, Dolores protested, though her voice wavered with insincerity. I've always treated you like a daughter of my own. That's not true, Maria said calmly. You've never hidden how you feel about me. And you know what? I'm done tolerating it. Tell Andres I'm not coming back home until the car is returned to me. And one more thing, tomorrow I'm filing for divorce. What? Came such a shriek through the phone that Maria had to pull it away from her ear. How dare you destroy a family over a stupid car? I always knew you never loved my son. It's not about the car, Maria replied wearily. It's about betrayal. Andres chose you over me, just like he always does. Of course he chose me, Dolores shouted triumphantly. I'm his mother. I gave him life. And who are you? Just some random girl he happened to meet. Those words hit like a dagger. Maria felt tears welling up in her eyes. Goodbye, Dolores, she said and hung up. The car fell into silence. Her parents said nothing, but their faces showed they had heard everything. Are you really going to file for divorce? Her mother asked quietly. Maria nodded. Yes. I can't do this anymore. That was the last straw. We'll support you, no matter what you decide, her father said firmly. Don't doubt that. Her phone rang again, Andres. Maria turned it off completely. The night in her childhood bedroom was restless. She tossed and turned on the narrow bed, trying to process everything that had happened. How could things change so drastically in a single day? That morning, she was the happy owner of a new car, making plans for the future. Now she was lying in her old room, heartbroken and determined to end her marriage. In the morning, when she came into the kitchen, her parents were already having breakfast. Her mother was frying pancakes, her father reading the news on his tablet. How did you sleep, sweetheart? Carmen asked, sliding a plate of pancakes toward her. Not well, Maria admitted. I was thinking all night. And what did you decide? Her father asked gently. I'm getting a divorce, she said firmly. I'm filing tomorrow. Her parents exchanged a glance but didn't say anything. They respected her decision. After breakfast, Maria turned her phone back on. 27 missed calls and a flood of messages from Andres, Dolores, even some of the guests from yesterday's birthday party who had apparently decided to insert themselves into the drama. The most recent message from Andres had arrived an hour ago. Maria, I'm coming to your parents' place. We need to talk. She barely had time to finish reading it when the doorbell rang. I'll get it, said her father, rising from the table. Voices could be heard from the hallway, her father's firm tone and Andres's pleading one. Raphael, please. I have to talk to her. She doesn't want to see you, her father replied firmly. She's my wife. You can't keep us apart. She's my daughter. And I won't let her suffer. Maria stepped into the hallway. Andres was standing at the door, disheveled, with red, sleep-deprived eyes. A bruise was visible on the bridge of his nose from yesterday's punch. Maria, he rushed toward her. Thank God. I didn't sleep all night, I kept calling you. I know, she said coldly. Why did you come? What do you mean, why? He looked genuinely surprised. To get you, of course. We need to go home. Talk this through calmly. There's nothing to talk about, Maria shook her head. You made the decision on your own. This is about the car, isn't it? Andres tried to take her hand, but she pulled away. Maria, it's just a car. We'll buy another one someday. It's not about the car, she said tiredly. It's about you. About what you did. You betrayed me, Andres. You humiliated me in front of everyone. I just wanted to make my mom happy, he said in his defense. She always dreamed of having a car. And you always said we should take care of our parents. Yes, we should help them, Maria agreed. But not at each other's expense. Not through humiliation. Humiliation? Andres looked genuinely confused. You're my wife. We're one. What does it matter who owns what? It matters, she said quietly, especially when one person takes the other's things without asking. Andres ran a hand through his hair, clearly at a loss for words. Look, Maria, I overreacted. I admit it. But let's not blow this out of proportion. Come home, we'll talk everything through. And the car? She asked directly. Will you give me back my car? Andres hesitated. Well, it's complicated. Mom already told everyone. She was so happy. She'd be really hurt if we took it back. And I'm not hurt? Maria exclaimed. You didn't consider me at all? Of course I did, he said quickly. It's just, maybe you could let it go? For the sake of peace in the family? Mom said she'd let you use it when she doesn't need it. Maria stared at her husband for a long moment. Now she could clearly see what she hadn't seen before. Andres would never take her side over his mother's. He would never put her happiness above his mother's wishes. I'm filing for divorce, she said quietly, but firmly. What? Andres turned pale. Over a car? Are you insane? Not over a car, Maria shook her head. Over you. Over your lack of respect for me, my feelings, my rights. Because your mother's opinion means more to you than your wife's happiness. That's not true, Andres exclaimed. I love you, Maria. It's just, my mom, she's done so much for me. I can't upset her. Exactly, Maria said with a sad smile. You can't upset your mother. Even if it costs you your marriage. That's ridiculous, Andres began to get angry. Divorcing over a stupid car. Not over the car, she repeated patiently, like speaking to a child. Over betrayal. Andres clenched his fists. You don't get it. My mom is alone, she sacrificed everything for me. And you? You're selfish. You only think about yourself. So now I know what you really think, Maria said quietly. Thank you for your honesty. She turned to leave, but Andres grabbed her arm. No, that's not what I meant. Maria, please, let's talk about this. Let go of my daughter, Rafael said firmly, stepping forward. Stay out of it. This isn't your business, Andres snapped. It's between me and my wife. She's my daughter, Rafael repeated. And I won't let you hurt her. What do you know? Andres burst out. You were always against our marriage. You've been turning her against me and my mother from the start. That's not true, Rafael replied calmly. We always respected our daughter's choice. But after yesterday, after you humiliated her in front of everyone, I won't let her go back to you. You have no right to decide for her. Andres shouted. Just like you have no right to decide for her, her father countered. But you did anyway, didn't you? Andres looked helplessly at Maria. Is this really what you want? Divorce? Yes, she said firmly. I don't see any other way. Over a car? He asked again. Over you, Maria repeated wearily. Over the fact that you don't see anything wrong with what you did. Over the fact that even now, you're more worried about upsetting your mother than about the pain you caused me. Andres lowered his head. I just wanted everyone to be happy. At whose expense? Maria asked. Mine? He stayed silent, having no answer. Go, Andres, she said quietly. My lawyer will contact you. A lawyer? He looked up, eyes wide with fear. But why? Can't we work this out ourselves? The way you worked out the car situation? Maria gave a bitter smile. No, thanks. I don't trust you anymore. Andres stood there, speechless. Then suddenly, he straightened up. Fine, Andres said. I'll give you the car back. Just come home. Maria shook her head. It's too late. It's not about the car. It's about the trust you broke. But I can fix it, he pleaded. Give me a chance. No, she said firmly. Goodbye, Andres. She turned and walked into her room, closing the door behind her. A few minutes later, she heard the front door slam shut. Andres had left. Maria sat down on the bed, feeling a strange sense of calm. The decision had been made, and she had no doubts it was the right one. There was a soft knock on the door. Her mother. May I? Carmen peeked into the room. How are you, sweetheart? I'm okay, Maria replied. Actually, I feel better now that I've made a decision. Her mother sat beside her on the bed. Are you sure? Maybe you should give him a chance. People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake, Mom, Maria said, shaking her head. It's who he is. He will always put his mother before me. Always. Yes, it seems so, Carmen sighed. You know, I sensed something from the beginning, but I didn't want to interfere. I should have seen it myself, Maria said with a sad smile. The signs were there from the start, I just didn't want to see them. So what now? Her mother asked. Tomorrow I'm going to see a lawyer, Maria said with determination. I'm filing for divorce. And the car? Carmen asked cautiously. We'll see what the lawyer says, Maria shrugged. But I'm not backing down. It's my car, and I'll get it back. The next day began with a visit to the lawyer. An elderly attorney listened to Maria's story and shook his head. It's a complicated situation, he said. On one hand, the car is registered in your name. On the other, under the law, property acquired during marriage is considered joint marital property, even lottery winnings. So I might lose the car? Maria asked, her voice dropping. Not exactly, the lawyer reassured her. You're entitled to half the car's value. If your husband refuses to return the vehicle, the court will most likely order a split in value. How much are we talking about? Maria asked. A new Kia Rio is worth around 20,000 euros, the lawyer calculated. That means you'd have to pay your husband about 10,000 if you want to keep the car. Or you could sell it and split the money. Maria felt her hope dim. She didn't have that kind of money. What if I can prove that my husband gave the car to his mother without my consent? She asked. Doesn't joint property require approval from both spouses for any major decisions? That's correct, the lawyer nodded. But I'm afraid the court will still likely consider your winnings as marital property. At best, they'll order him to pay you compensation, half the car's value. Maria sighed. I don't have 10,000 euros to buy out his share. In that case, the lawyer said, spreading his hands, you'll either have to sell the car and split the money, or find a compromise. When Maria stepped out of the lawyer's office, it was raining. She walked slowly along the wet sidewalk, deep in thought. 10,000 euros. Where could she possibly find that kind of money? Her nurse's salary barely covered everyday expenses. Her parents couldn't help either. Her father had just retired, and her mother worked part-time as a schoolteacher. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A message from Andres. I spoke to a lawyer. The car is considered joint property. Let's settle this peacefully. Come home so we can talk. Maria didn't reply. She needed time to think about her next move. That evening, when she returned to her parents' house, she was met with a surprise. Sitting in the kitchen was Dolores herself, perfectly styled hair, an expensive teal tweed suit, and a cup of untouched tea in front of her. Maria, she exclaimed when she saw her. Dolores, Maria froze in the doorway, unable to believe her eyes. What are you doing here? Her mother-in-law adjusted the collar of her designer suit and forced a smile that looked more like a grimace. I came to have a private family chat. No outsiders. Carmen shifted her gaze tensely between her daughter and the uninvited guest. Raphael sat silently in the corner of the kitchen, arms crossed, clearly unimpressed by Dolores's visit. I don't want to talk, Maria said, pulling the rain-soaked coat from her shoulders. Especially after everything that's happened. Come now, dear, Dolores lowered her voice to a whisper. We're grown women, we should know how to find compromises. Compromises? Maria felt a wave of anger rise in her chest. What kind of compromise is it when you and your son took my car? No one took anything, Dolores said, tightening her lips. Andres only wanted to do something nice for his mother. Is that a crime? At someone else's expense? Yes, it is, Maria snapped. And anyway, why are you really here? Do you think I'll change my mind about the divorce? Dolores flinched, as if slapped. That's exactly what I wanted to talk about, Dolores said. Maria, You're making a terrible mistake, destroying a family over a piece of metal. Not over metal, Maria corrected her, sitting down across from her mother-in-law. Over betrayal. Your son showed me that my feelings and wishes mean nothing to him. That pleasing his mommy comes first. That's how it should be. Dolores exclaimed, slapping her hand on the table. A mother is sacred. I raised Andres alone, I sacrificed everything for him. And now he's supposed to sacrifice his marriage for you? Maria let out a bitter laugh. Great logic. You're just jealous of our bond. Dolores leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with something sharp. You've been trying to pull him away from me from the beginning. Now you've staged this whole divorce circus just to punish him. I'm not punishing anyone, Maria sighed. I just want to live with someone who respects me and my boundaries. Andres isn't capable of that. Dolores suddenly switched tactics. Her face softened, and a false sorrow crept into her voice. Maria, dear, think of our situation. You're young, beautiful, you'll find another husband. But Andres, he loves you so much. He's a wreck, he can't sleep, can't eat. Do you take me for an idiot? Maria barely held back her anger. I remember perfectly well how you always made it clear I wasn't good enough for your son. And now, suddenly, you care about our marriage? People change, Dolores sighed dramatically. I realized I was wrong. Oh, really? Maria raised an eyebrow. And when exactly did this miraculous realization happen? Before or after you got my car? Dolores pursed her lips. Ah, so that's what this is about. It is all about the car, isn't it? That's what this drama's really about. I already told you, it's about how I was treated, Maria said firmly. But since you brought it up, yes, I want my car back. Dolores tightened her lips even more. Andres and I have already consulted a lawyer. Your lottery win is considered joint marital property. You're only entitled to half its value. Raphael had had enough. So you came here to tell my daughter you're keeping her car? I came to find a compromise, Dolores protested. We could settle this without unpleasant court proceedings. And what's your idea of a compromise? Maria asked, already suspecting the answer. Dolores smiled as if offering a royal favor. Andres and I are willing to pay you your share, 10,000 euros, and we can all go our separate ways, peacefully, without scandal. You, Maria choked on the outrage. You seriously plan to keep my car? Technically, it's not just yours anymore, Dolores corrected, with the tone of a schoolteacher explaining something obvious to a slow child. By law, half belongs to Andres. And we're offering to buy your share at a fair price. Fair? Carmen snapped. You're taking my daughter's winnings and trying to present it as a noble gesture. Please stay out of this, Dolores said coldly. This concerns our family only. My daughter is part of our family, Raphael stood up from his seat. And we won't let you take advantage of her. No one's taking advantage of anyone, Dolores said indignantly. Everything is legal. Maria gets compensation, and everyone's happy. Everyone except me, Maria said with a bitter smile. I lose both my husband and my car. That's your own fault, Dolores scoffed. You started a divorce over nothing. Andres is still willing to forgive you if you come back and apologize. Forgive me? Maria couldn't believe what she was hearing. For what, may I ask? For your disrespect toward me, Dolores declared with importance. For the scene you made at my birthday, for embarrassing our family in front of all our friends. Maria stared at Dolores and hardly recognized the woman she had known for a year and a half. How had she failed to see this monstrous self-importance, this sheer egotism? Leave, she said quietly but firmly. I'm not negotiating with you. I'll see you in court. You'll regret this, Dolores stood up, eyes blazing. Andres already hired a good lawyer. You'll get nothing. We'll see, Maria replied calmly. Now please, leave. Dolores straightened to her full, not very tall, height. You'll come crawling back one day, begging for forgiveness when you realize what you've lost." With that, she swept out of the room. Raphael silently opened the door for her and just as silently closed it behind her. When the sound of footsteps on the stairs faded, Maria sank into a chair, drained. "I can't believe it. They're actually trying to take my car." "But you're not giving up, are you?" her father asked as he returned to the kitchen. "Of course not," Maria said, shaking her head firmly. "I'm going to fight this to the end." The following weeks became a true test of Maria's strength. Andres bombarded her with messages, some pleading, others threatening. Dolores spread rumors among acquaintances, painting Maria as ungrateful and materialistic. Legal consultations only confirmed what Maria already knew: lottery winnings are considered joint marital property, and she could claim, at most, half the car's value. By the time the case went to court, Maria was emotionally prepared for any outcome. In the courtroom, she avoided looking at Andres, who sat across from her beside a smug-looking Dolores. Her mother-in-law had deliberately worn a severe suit and glasses to appear more respectable. The judge, a middle-aged woman with a tired face, carefully reviewed the documents and listened to both sides. "Now then," she concluded, "the court recognizes the Kia Rio as jointly acquired marital property of the Moreno spouses. In accordance with the law, such property must be divided equally. Since the parties have failed to reach an agreement on the vehicle's use, the court rules as follows: either the vehicle is to be sold and the proceeds divided equally, or one party may compensate the other with an amount equal to half the vehicle's market value. The parties have 1 month to carry out this decision." Maria felt the bitter taste of defeat. She couldn't afford to pay her ex-husband 10,000 euros, which meant she would have to sell the car. Her car, which rightfully should have belonged to her alone. As she was leaving the courtroom, Andres caught up with her in the hallway. "Maria, wait. Maybe we can still come to an agreement?" "About what?" she asked wearily. "You've already decided everything. You and your mother are keeping the car. I get compensation. What more do you want?" "I'd like for us to stay friends," he said hesitantly. "After all, we were together for a year and a half." Maria looked at her ex-husband and suddenly realized she felt nothing: no anger, no love, not even regret. "No, Andres," she shook her head. "We can't be friends. Not because I'm angry, but because you still don't understand what you did wrong." "I do understand," he said passionately. "I should have talked to you first." "Not just that," Maria interrupted. "You should have put me, and our marriage, above your mother's wishes. But you didn't. And you never will." "That's unfair," Andres frowned. "My mother has done a lot for me." "See?" Maria smiled sadly. "You're still talking about her. Goodbye, Andres." She turned and walked toward the exit, feeling a strange sense of relief, as if she had finally cast off a heavy burden. 3 days after the court hearing, Maria received a call from her lawyer. "Maria, I have news. Your former mother-in-law wants to buy out your share of the vehicle." "What?" Maria was surprised. "I thought Andres would insist on selling it." "No, Dolores is willing to pay you the full compensation. 10,000 euros, as the court ruled, cash, immediately." Maria hesitated. On one hand, she didn't want to give in to Dolores. On the other, 10,000 euros was a significant amount. With that money, she could make a down payment on an apartment or buy a used car. "All right," she said at last. "I agree. But everything has to be done officially." The meeting to finalize the money transfer was scheduled at a notary's office. Maria arrived with her father, who insisted on coming along. Dolores showed up alone, carrying a large handbag. "Where's Andres?" Maria asked automatically upon seeing her former mother-in-law. "He's a bit under the weather," Dolores waved a hand dismissively. "But don't worry, I'll handle everything." The notary, an elderly man with a neatly trimmed beard, had prepared all the necessary paperwork. Maria signed the waiver of ownership, transferring the car to her ex-husband, while Dolores counted out 10,000 euros in cash. Please count it, the notary instructed Maria. She slowly counted the stacks of bills. The sum was accurate. It's all correct, she nodded. Wonderful. Dolores beamed triumphantly. So the car is officially ours. Yours, Maria agreed, feeling strangely calm. I hope it brings you happiness. Oh, I'm sure it will, Dolores straightened up, looking down on Maria despite being shorter. I always get what I want. Not always, Maria replied quietly. You wanted a different daughter-in-law, and now you've got no daughter-in-law at all. Dolores's face twisted with rage. You'll regret this. Andresito will find someone 100 times better than you. I wish him luck, Maria said sincerely. And you too. She picked up the money, said goodbye to the notary, and left the office with her father without looking back. How are you? Raphael asked once they were outside. Strangely, okay, Maria smiled, as if she'd finally closed a painful chapter of her life. And the money? Her father nodded at the bag. Compensation, Maria shrugged. For the lost time and nerves. It'll help me start over. 6 months later, Maria was living a new life. She had moved into a small but cozy studio apartment, paid for with a mortgage and the car money as a down payment. She found a new job at a private clinic with better pay. She met new people. Sometimes she remembered her first car, the silver Kia Rio she barely got to drive, but those memories no longer hurt. One day, coming back from work, Maria noticed a familiar car in the supermarket parking lot. A silver Kia Rio, slightly dusty but still recognizable. She slowed down. Behind the wheel sat Dolores, wearing a colorful housecoat. Apparently she hadn't bothered to change for the store. Next to her, Andres dozed in the passenger seat. Even through the window, it was clear how much he had changed. His face was puffy, dark circles under his eyes, and his skin had an unhealthy flush. Dolores spotted her former daughter-in-law and froze. Then, deliberately, she looked away and started the engine. Andres didn't even wake as the car pulled out of the lot. Maria watched them drive away and, unexpectedly, smiled. There was something almost poetic about it. Dolores had gotten exactly what she wanted, just not the way she imagined. She got the car, but at what cost? A 5-year loan secured by her summer house, as Maria had learned from mutual acquaintances, a son who'd started drinking after the divorce and lost his job, and a reputation as the woman who destroyed her son's marriage out of greed. Maria lost a car but gained freedom from toxic relationships, from manipulation, from the constant feeling of being second best. She turned and walked away, not looking back. She had a new life, new plans, and new dreams. And maybe, someday, a new car, one no one could ever take from her. Near her apartment building, she saw a young man walking a funny little pug on a leash. Their eyes met, and he smiled. Open and friendly. Maria smiled back. Life went on. Meanwhile, across the city, Dolores was parking the prize car in front of her building. Andres sat next to her, staring blankly at nothing. They looked like a pair who had gotten exactly what they deserved. The car was theirs, but the price had been far greater than its worth.
If you're enjoying it as well, leave a like and subscribe to the channel.